we're angry and like we're at a breaking point.
And they're hoping that some good can come from the many recent race-related tragedies.
If everybody could just talk about it, break down these stereotypes that are put in place, recognize the system and how it is oppressing our Black communities.
This is the most diverse campus in New England, one of the most diverse in the country.
And that diversity was key when looking for a construction company to do this job. The Boston Plan, a set of guidelines for the makeup of a construction crew. It suggested 50% should be residents, 25% minorities, and 10% women.
The issue? Amazon Prime, which offers free same-day service, was not available in only 3 Boston zip codes, all in Roxbury. Their explanation then, density of demand. Is it racism?
I'm not sure to say if it's racism right now, but it certainly appears to be.
But 2 hours after this interview, Amazon called Walsh, releasing this statement. We are actively working with our local carrier to enable service to the Roxbury neighborhood in the coming weeks. Prime members in every zip code in Boston will receive Prime free same-day delivery.
The new law would protect transgender people in public accommodations, which are hotels, restaurants, banks, the T, really any place that serves the public. But right now in the Commonwealth, it is perfectly legal to deny somebody groceries at a grocery store. We have these stories of this happening to people.
In Massachusetts?
In Massachusetts. It's pretty incredible. We're usually a leader in equality, and in this instance, there's already 17 states that have these protections.
Yeah, the first date with, people would say the first date with gay marriage, and this is the way it would be in Massachusetts in 2016?
Well, you know, people are hurting out in the Commonwealth right now. There are people who, this bill has been around for 10 years, there are people who, parents, who have gone up to the State House and testified every session for the last 10 years about children they've lost to this issue, lives that are no longer present in the Commonwealth because of this issue.
Our democracy was founded upon this diversity and this core value that everybody deserves the benefit of the doubt. And every person deserves the right to freely travel about this planet.
We care, and as students, we want to get our voice heard.
But for many, it's also about a push for lawmakers to pass stricter gun laws. No more guns! No more guns! School leaders in Orange County supporting the walkout at this school and more than 50 others in the district.
They need to be heard, and if we don't support that, then they're going to be heard in their own way. Without organization.
And that support is something students say is important for their voices to be heard.
And if it takes one person to tell the world that this is something that should not be happening in this place, then I want to be that one person.
You need to act. Acting is incredibly important, and
you need to act. Acting is incredibly important, and
what we're doing is we're celebrating diversity, not just LGBT diversity, but diversity in general, and it's the coming together of a community to say that diversity is the building block of our prosperity.
Mayor Dyer says we embrace diversity in Orlando and says it's one of our greatest strengths.
The Boston Herald apologizing after this cartoon satirizing White House security and President Obama quickly drew criticism on social media for being racist. Herald staffers say the phone's been ringing. Lots of calls, lots of reader outrage.
Boston Herald staff cartoonist Jerry Holbert for today's paper drew a caricature of the president and the White House intruder in the tub. The intruder asking, "Have you tried the new watermelon-flavored toothpaste?" A bad choice of words if you ask the governor.
I don't need to pile on. You know, I found the cartoon offensive. I think most people did. It was stupid. I think even the Herald sees that.
It's just as insensitive as it can possibly get, especially for a newspaper to publish this. Wow.
The Florida Secretary of State, who has been on the job for less than 3 weeks, has resigned after an old photo of him at a Halloween party surfaced online, sparking outrage. Here is Michael Ertel, not only in blackface, but with a shirt on that says, quote, Katrina victim.
Derica Purnell, a first-year Harvard Law student, was outraged when the grand jury didn't indict police officer Darren Wilson for shooting Brown. She walked out of class last week.
I left the classroom. This is before it was a whole organized event. I just left because it's unfair for so many of us to continue with business as usual when I feel like I'm dying.
Today, a day of action.
Tell me what democracy looks like! This is what democracy looks like!
This is the day in 1955 civil rights activist Rosa Parks sat down on the bus. This is the day college campuses stand up against police brutality and racial profiling.
Eastern Michigan University is holding a program on racism, diversity, and inclusion today. The program comes after several incidents of racist graffiti targeting African Americans were left on buildings during the fall semester. The school says today's program will allow the community to come together and ensure Eastern Michigan is an inclusive and democratic institution.
6 months after her tweets left the campus of Davidson College in disbelief,
almost embarrassed thinking about the pictures she posted.
It appears the same student who posted support for the KKK, a blue-eyed master race, and the shooting of members of the Jewish community is now enrolled at UNC Charlotte.
UNC Charlotte cannot be and will not be defined by this tragedy.
Student Government Association member Jacob Baum told us UNC Charlotte's continued decision to welcome the student is a decision to welcome hate speech, and said she has no place on our campus. A North Carolina group opposed to white supremacy first exposed the ROTC cadet in November, and in recent days, Carolina Workers Collective brought her up again, questioning her enrollment at UNC Charlotte. To calm any concerns, the university said in a statement it strongly condemns hate speech in all forms and is committed to disciplining any instances of harassment or intimidation under the Code of Student Responsibility.
Drag 101 is what the class is called, guys. It's one of about 400 summer programs being offered and one of 45 geared toward teenagers. On center stage here, Selena T. West says she'll take it as long as by F they mean fabulous. Performer Selena West will soon add professor to her list of titles.
So the class is Drag 101, so it is the building blocks on how to do drag.
Teaching an hour-long summer reading class at the Orange branch of the Delaware County District Library this June. What it's not?
It's nothing to do with gender or sexual identity at all.
Is something you'd expect at a library, where it's causing an uproar with the type of noise unheard of until now.
There are now more than 35 chapters nationwide. Performers with the nonprofit undergo training and in many cases background checks. For Jonathan, the dramatic flair and the kids' curiosity seemed a perfect fit.
They know it's dress up and it's a costume.
But there's been backlash. For Jonathan, though, the protests are exactly the point, making sure the next generation is taught tolerance. Kids and drag queens, controversial to some, but here at least, keeping the audience hanging on every word.
Anonymous released the list of alleged Ku Klux Klan members this morning. It includes 4 U.S. senators and 5 mayors. Ocala Mayor Kent Gwynn is on the list.
Well, he outright denied being a member of the Klan, Matt. In fact, all day today, he refused to go on camera about this until we kept pressing him with questions. And that's when he finally acquiesced and called a news conference for just about 2 hours ago. These claims have literally rocked this entire community. The allegations were made online this morning, naming Gwynn as a member of the KKK. It even named his wife. Gwynn this afternoon, though, made no bones about his affiliation.
And I will unequivocally tell you that that is an absolute lie, that I never have been, am not now, nor will I ever be a member of that group.
Comedic pictures and videos shared on social media. Some satirized the public's response to Harambe's death. Not all were in good taste.
There were these groups of people, these pockets on the internet, who began using the Harambe meme in a way that isolated people, in a way that communicated racist rhetoric, xenophobic rhetoric.
Harambe's death was one of the most prominent instances of a growing phenomenon, the memification of major news events. Crude creations or crucial public perspectives. The significance of memes is arguable. Yet the popularity of this new media format is unmistakable.
I do believe that there should be more faces. I think that fundamentally white people are pretty bland. They're pretty beige. And
I mean, as the only non-parent here at the table, at least that I know about, the fact that
researchers out of the United Kingdom's Open University interviewed 5,000 adults, all ages, sexual orientation. The findings, no matter who you were, if you didn't have a child, you were happier in your marriage and your relationship.
And as you'll see, the responses were raw. Some of the experiences they describe are shocking. In our first report, we told you that when testing 6-year-olds, the research showed an overwhelming majority of white kids were negative about interracial friendships. The majority of black children, on the other hand, were positive.
If I were to date a white guy, a lot of people wouldn't really have a problem with that. But if my brother were to bring home a white girl, you know, there's definitely going to be some controversy.
From whom? Your parents or you?
From me. from me.
It's refreshing. All queens are involved in politics. Inherently, drag is a political statement. But I do think that Nina's intimacy with the political system, the fundraising that the West family does, as well as the fact that AOC is rooting for.
AOC loves Nina West.
Rihanna was in the DMs.
Yes, she was.
There's the social media question, which is a bunch of basically trolls pumping out misinformation, disinformation, you know, sort of like hate speech light in a way. If everyone's just going to sort of like wash their hands and walk away, what you're left with is a lot of garbage online. And does that affect the society in a bad way?
Conservatives are attacking Twitter for allegedly censoring conservative voices by basically blocking them. And, you know, people say that most of these voices are alt-right and hate
white supremacists.
Neo-Nazi, white supremacists.
How do you fact check a meme? There's no real data behind it. You don't know where it's coming from.
If you don't see it anywhere, it's probably not true. If you see it in Google News, maybe it is. That's all.
After Cenk brands fake content with a big red banner on his website, he also formally notifies Facebook, which immediately reduces the item's visibility in its news feeds. Cenk is convinced even small doses of disinformation can be dangerous for democracy.
What the Kremlin wants is for voters to be confused. It doesn't necessarily need to convince them of anything in particular, simply to make them doubt their leaders, doubt their media, doubt each other, even to not know exactly what their future might hold. And in that situation, the Kremlin thinks perhaps they'll be more likely to install authoritarian leaders who say they'll keep them safe and maybe more amenable to the kind of tactics that Moscow likes. And remember, at EU level, it only takes one vote in many cases to block things like sanctions or energy projects. And so what has been done is that the big platforms, the social media giants, have signed a code of conduct with the European Commission that says they're going to be more proactive about taking down fake content. They need to change the way they put fake stories in their algorithms. So if you've got a fact checker saying that they've proven a story is false, then Facebook, in working with some of these consortiums, will then drop that story down. So it makes it more difficult for people to see the fake content and make it go viral.
There was an investigation at OPD. In it, Officer Shellhorn told Internal Affairs he could see how his words could be misconstrued. Quote, "That was never my intent. There was never any racial anything behind anything I said." Still, Shellhorn was disciplined and suspended for 80 hours without pay. But this morning, a Citizens Review Board who oversees OPD's decisions voted that's not enough. They're now drafting a letter of a recommendation for a zero-tolerance policy, which includes having Shellhorn fired.
I think the board gave Chief Mina a do-over to do the right thing, to make sure that the community is safe.
Officer Matthew Moriarty is now out of a job after he made this Snapchat post back in February depicting perhaps what he claims it looks like to be a black person and talks about celebrating Black History Month. He's seen with an afro hairstyle and a beard drawn onto his face and his head. The chief saying it's racist and offensive, and he's been suspended since February.
There's no chief in America, no chief of police in America would put up with this kind of behavior, and this officer, he cannot be a police officer. He doesn't deserve to be.
And to make matters worse, the chief told us Moriarty really didn't show much remorse after asked about the post.
His lawyer apologized, but he never said one word that would lead me to believe that he was sorry for what he did.
Authorities say officers here already go through racially sensitive training. Now we're finding out they'll soon all get inherent bias training with the Department of Justice.
I've had the training. It's terrific. It teaches us about our inherent bias.
In the crosshairs of his online rants was the diverse population he served at the MBTA. When we showed up last fall to speak with Barito, he had nothing to say.
Kathy Curran from Team 5.
I know who you are. I'm not going to say nothing to you.
The page was public for all of the world to see. Many of the comments were repulsive. This post degraded people with Down syndrome, and in this photo, Baratow sporting a t-shirt with the Pillsbury Doughboy mimicking Adolf Hitler with white flower printed below.
Last week, Bryn Garrett got this photo from a friend. The writing on the wall of the girl's bathroom is derogatory towards African Americans, references the KKK, and reads, "Go Trump." Bryn wanted to remain anonymous, but word spread, and a posting by her proud mom on social media let the cat out of the bag. Thanks to Bryn and her friends, the Post-it note is no longer just a tool to jot down daily reminders. It's now reminding us to be kind to one another. I spoke with Oviedo police earlier this afternoon. At this point in time, they don't have any leads in the case as far as who may have written those racist remarks on the bathroom wall.
Michigan soccer website Tabor Football Company posted screenshots of Eric Gibbs' Reddit posts on Sunday night. In them, he posted racist memes and right-wing conspiracy theories. Now, the Assembly tweeted a statement last night saying, in part, while these posts were not made in their capacity as members, nor during the time as part of our membership, they clearly do not represent our aims to be inclusive and respectful toward all.
Many students are calling on the university to expel a student who made racial slurs on social media.
The post that was sent to News 10 contained several instances using the N-word and talking about bullying, the politically incorrect word for the mentally challenged. Others fired back on social media in a push to get that student kicked out. The university is aware of the recent social media posts connected to an MSU student. As a public institution, we do not get to control what every member of our community says. One of the university's core values is inclusion, to have a campus environment that fosters free speech and the sharing of ideas and beliefs. However, we do not condone racial harassment or bullying. The student body president, Lorenzo Santavica, tells me the university needs to do more.
We have to realize that this is one of our core values of inclusion, diversity, equity, and realizing that we have to build that up a better foundation at Michigan State University.
Nobody should be that ignorant. This is a diverse campus. You should not be that ignorant to think that using that word is okay.
Yes, you have free speech, but you have to be sensitive to certain things, and it's just certain stuff that you do not say.
The city of Lansing is working to increase racial diversity among its first responders. Mayor Andy Shore released a statement this morning stating he is, quote, committed to continuing to work towards racial equity. Mayor Shore went on to explain that the city's police and fire departments are some of the most diverse in the area. He also says the city plans to continue and expand racial sensitivity training sessions for those departments.
One status on the page reads in part, we welcome students of European descent and allies to follow and contribute to the UCF White Student Union. European American students on college campuses face unique and immediate challenges that are ignored or even actively denied in today's cultural climate. It goes on to say we unapologetically provide a safe space for white students to air their true feelings about the future of our nation. Right now, more than 114 people have liked the UCF page. We asked a UCF spokesman if school officials are aware of this page and if they know if any students are involved in it. So far, they have not commented.
At the center of this controversy was a black and white dummy hanging from this fence. They've removed it since we were here on Wednesday and tell us it was never intended to intimidate or offend anyone.
The Ernest claimed it was a Halloween decoration which had hung on the fence for 3 years.
To me, they're the ones being racist. I mean, we don't bother nobody. I get along with every neighbor around here.
The police say complaints against Ernest are still under investigation.
An investigation is underway in Charlotte this morning after a racist photo makes the rounds on social media. The Instagram photo shows 2 African Americans near a district building with a racial slur in the caption. The post also received several racist comments. It was originally posted more than a year ago, but recently resurfaced. The superintendent issued a statement saying the district is outraged and condemns any behavior that discriminates or intimidates. The students involved and their families are scheduled to meet with school officials this week.
This is the image causing all the furor sent to a local newspaper. It shows a member of the Wheaton College women's soccer team in blackface.
I thought it was really rude and really racist and stupid.
Pretty weird that this girl would do this, knowing that there's a strong presence of the African American community, or the black community at the school.
The student dressed up as actor Terry Crews from the 2002 comedy White Chicks. In 2017, the joke fell flat.
It wasn't a joke. It was unacceptable behavior to be seen at this university. She's a junior. She
should have known better.
It's not funny to me. It's like, it's not funny to me, so why is it funny to you? And I understand intent versus impact. Your intent was to be funny, but your impact hurt.
According to the college, after the image was posted on Snapchat, other team members tried to scrub it to cover up the offense.
One person wore the costume, but the entire group was involved in the event.
Calling the incident racist and offensive, the administration has pulled the entire team from the Division II tournament, which starts on Saturday.
We're trying to create an environment in which students from many different backgrounds and experiences can live and learn together and learn from each other.
Before Halloween, the college had put out warnings about offensive costumes in a campus where 20% are students of color.
People are being educated on race and diversity in this country because of the climate of this country at this moment. She should know better, therefore the college should expel her.
The Black Student Association here is so upset. They've had 2 forums on this issue so far this week. The college tonight is not talking about expulsion, but other forms of disciplinary action are being reviewed.
It started in October. 6 racially charged incidents, derogatory notes targeting black students, the most recent just before winter break.
I came downstairs and I just seen on the door, it was a racial slur that was written about me and him.
No one has been found or held accountable.
Students now demanding changes, more diverse faculty, more security cameras, creation of an African American studies major, and a diversity scholarship. But most importantly, the person responsible for the hate crimes brought to justice.
It's 2018 and people still don't understand that, like, racism that's not a good thing and it shouldn't be acceptable.
The university says it's listening. They've enlisted the FBI's help. There's a $5,000 reward for information leading to a suspect. Additional cameras have been installed and there are increased police patrols. There also will be open forums and speakers aimed at students and parents.
Nobody wants this on our campus. That's not part of our campus. We will deal with these students who are affecting our community, who are committing racist acts. There's no doubt about that.
The question, based on an excerpt from the novel The Underground Railroad, asked students to write an essay from the perspective of the character Ethel, a racist white woman living in North Carolina before the Civil War.
When we debriefed it in class the next day, a lot of them just said, I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to say bad things about a black girl like me.
Because of concerns raised by students in Boston, the state has decided to remove that question from students who've already taken the test and not give it to students taking makeup exams.
We agree with their decision, and we look forward to an ongoing conversation to ensure that the testing environment is a level playing field for all of our students.
But the NAACP, the State Teachers Union, and other groups say some students were so rattled by the question, the whole test should be thrown out.
This question traumatized them, and then they were expected to move on with the rest of the test and the rest of the day as if nothing else happened.
The MCAS faced similar criticism back in 2003 when 4th graders were asked to write about a snow day. Many recently arrived immigrant students from warmer climates had no idea what that was.
The racist social media posts quickly went viral last week, and while they were posted outside of the walls of Lexington schools, they reverberated through the halls and community at large. The Association of Black Citizens of Lexington recommended immediate implementations, including the appointment of a teacher to act as an anti-racism mediator, the hiring of a black counselor, and improving cultural training and education.
Students walked out of Wellesley High protesting an act of racism targeting a teacher of color. The principal told parents the teacher, who is African American, received an anonymous email using racist tones, language, and repulsive terms that were highly insulting.
It was awful. None of my faculty deserves to be treated that way. Our students of color experience microaggressions every day. Just so proud of our kids. They were really brave. And they spoke their truths, and I think people need to hear it.
California is now the first state to require publicly traded companies to include women on their board of directors. This measure requires at least one female director on each board of California-based corporation by the end of next year.
Happy Pride, everybody! Happy Pride! Who here knows what gay pride means?
It means where all the gay people, transgender, lesbian, bisexual people gather up and celebrate.
That's absolutely right. It's a celebration of sexual diversity. Are you gay allies?
Definitely.
Sure. Great answer. A gay icon is someone who's revered by the gay community.
Lady Gaga?
Yes. Anderson Cooper?
I might have heard of them.
I mean, everybody should aspire to grow up and be a gay icon.
That's what Pride Day is all about.
You're right. See you at Pride, everybody.
And he said, if you're black in here tonight and you're proud, I want you to put your fist in the air and yell Black Power. And all the black people in attendance with unison and with pride, they put their fists in the air and they yelled, Black Power. And then he said, what about Latinos? Any Latinos in the house? And there was claps and cheers. And he said, if you're Latino in here tonight and you're proud, put your fist in the air and yell, Latino Power. All the Latinos in unison with pride, they put their fist in the air and yelled, Latino Power. And then Kamau said, any white people in the house tonight? And there was a few claps, and he said, if you're white in here tonight and you're proud, I want you to put your fist in the air and yell, White Power. And there was silence. Because that choice that Kamau created in a matter of seconds, white people have been making for the last 60 years. To either be identified with racist white people who scream white power, or to be good white people and distance ourselves through silence. But that's a false moral choice. People are too messy and racism is too complex and the stakes are too high for such simplistic thinking. You gotta find better ways to speak about being white in the world. And it's the same with white bullies today. Their anger is real, it just isn't true. And they're mailing that anger in to the wrong address, and there's a multi-billion-dollar outrage industry on YouTube, talk radio, and political platforms waiting to cash in the checks of white anger. And this isn't new. In fact, white anger has been big business in America since our founding. It's what historians call the wages of whiteness, where working class whites traded in their pain and anger for the temporary relief of feeling bigger than their black and brown neighbors. But it's bad business.